Good morning, team. I'm so excited to have a very, very special guest on our Monday morning motivation call. Her name is Brenda Martin. She's a Diamond Ambassador, and I had the pleasure of meeting Brenda at the corporate grand opening here in Arizona, and she was gracious enough to come on and share with us her journey and some of her tips for building her business. She's Diamond Ambassador. Her husband just recently promoted to Diamond as well, and she's an amazing Christian woman who loves the Lord. She has 11 beautiful children and homeschools her kids, and we just cannot wait to hear what she has to share with us today. So thank you for coming, Brenda.
Well, thank you. This is I don't know about you guys, but this is a super exciting time of the month for most of us too. We get to rank up ourselves or congratulate those on our team or help somebody. And so it's always just one of those times where it just reminds you again what an amazing thing we're a part of, because the whole thing that really drew my husband and I into Plexus was the fact that we are doing things different and people are able to be successful on a much larger scale than we normally have seen in network marketing. And so just to see so many stay-at-home mamas, busy mamas that want to be home, families that just want more freedom, young people who want to do things different and find a better way, are able to do so with our company. And that is a part of this that has never gotten old for me. My passion has remained steady to tell others that we are different, because we keep seeing it every month, the proof that we are different. So we were skeptical, my husband and I, when my friend told us about Plexus 2.5 years ago. We were never going to get involved in network marketing. My husband even said, hey, we've gotten like 22 years into our marriage without touching one of those things, and I'm not about to do it now, was his first response. And but I said, you know what, I think this might be a little different, because first of all, our friends Jarrett and Kristen were the type that don't just fall for anything really quickly. They research it out and they're smart, and I knew that if they were recommending it to us, it was worth looking at. And really that's what network marketing is all about. We try something because it comes from friends we trust. And by the way, just a little side tip with that, for you ambassadors who may get objections, people say, oh, I read this on the internet, or I heard this about Plexus. Always remind them what the source for that came from. Is that someone who wants the good? Wants you to experience something good, or is that someone who maybe has a different agenda? Who are you going to trust more, me or them? So anyway, that's really what it boiled down to. Am I still coming through okay, Becca?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What it really boiled down to is the fact that we trusted our friends enough to give it a try. And that's really all I wanted to do initially, was just to try it and see what it did for myself. But it wasn't long into taking it that I started researching more about what, like particularly our pink drink Slim is and why it works. And I was sold after a little bit of research, because I told my husband, we have gold in our hands. We have something amazing. There is nothing else out there on the market that naturally regulates blood sugar with such good results as this does. Nothing. I mean, I knew my supplements. I was one of those crunchy mamas. I was very strict with my family's diet. We tried to avoid the doctor.
It froze a little.
And we were successful in doing that for 10 years. And, because we cleaned up our diet. We used natural herbs and supplements. And I was always fascinated with the fact that you take what God created and formulate it, or put it together, plants and herbs and that, and they work because our bodies know how to utilize it. So that's what got me excited about this. Blood sugar regulation, naturally, everybody needs to hear about this. And so I was to tell all of my friends before I had my own results, because I saw the value. And then I started reading the testimonies, and that just proved what I knew we had in our hands. So my family says that about 2 to 3 weeks in, they noticed I was feeling much better. I didn't think about it, but they said my mood was much better. So what I was suffering with at the time was just complete adrenal light. Everything was a mountain. I didn't want to go anywhere or do anything because it took way too much effort. I just wanted to stay home and stay put. So my husband always says life as we knew it, he thought was over because mama was just never up to doing anything and pretty much starting to become a little depressed. And that so was not me. So that's the first thing my family noticed was that I was had a better mood. My afternoon crashes weren't happening every day. I could keep going a little more steady. But then I myself started noticing that more in the second month. And so that, drove me to continue. And I have to say, really, it wasn't until 6 to 8 months in that I could say I was a whole new person. It took time. But meanwhile, I had helped thousands of people, So I just love that. We have the proof all around us. We don't need our own story, our own proof to tell somebody else. If you trust just 2 of your friends who you have heard 10 testimonies from them, that should be rock solid ground enough for you to step out and tell other people, because the more people you tell, the more stories you're going to get back with good results to build your belief. Sure, there's going to be the small percentage that it doesn't help, but if you only tell 2 people and it doesn't work for them, then you're never going to know if you don't go tell 20 more people and discover the 15 people that it will work for or whatever. So that's really how it went for us. We just started sharing. I saw it was truly lost, and I told my sponsor, I said, do you think my goal for getting our family out of debt is too big? Is that just crazy? Because I almost felt dumb saying it out loud. But I had prayed for that very thing. I had desperately prayed for the past 2 years that God would bring something kind of big into our lives to really help us get out of debt. We have 8 sons that are growing up, and they're entrepreneurs themselves. They love doing things. I knew they would all eventually start their own business. They're not going to go find a 9-to-5 job, most likely. And so I wanted to be prepared to help them start on their own and not be living with debt for the next 30, 40 years. And so that was my desperate prayer to God. And so when this came, it was so obvious that this is what he wanted us to do. And I think that's what motivated us, because it felt like kind of a slap in his face. He got it, and then we didn't put our whole hearts into it. So we were pretty passionate, that this was amazing and it could be amazing for so many people. Well, obviously it has been. We are, just as of last month, we paid off all of our business debt. That is gone. So now we're just working on the mortgage, which is very easy to do. And we can pay above and beyond. And we get to renovate our whole barn we can basically pay it as we go. We don't have to accumulate a lot of debt to do it. So God is so big, and I really feel he has a hand in this company and the lives he's touched. I mean, we just see it all around us. So let's see, I went Emerald 10 months in, and then about 11 months later, I hit Diamond, and about a year later, my husband hit Diamond. So it's amazing what is possible and how many lives we can change if we're willing to just really pour our all into it. I was like, my sponsor described a dog or puppy with its nose to the ball, just focused that first month. Sure, some things in the house went to pot. I had to say no to a lot of things. I didn't do movies or television or anything that first year. It was all Plexus focused for the most part. But it paid off. Our family wanted freedom, and with freedom comes sacrifice. And so if I had to do it all over again, I would so do it. And maybe I would even put more into it, if anything, because I'm realizing how rewarding this is. So yeah, that's kind of been our journey. My husband feels 20 years younger as well, and it's just fun to be able to keep up with all our little ones now. My oldest is 22, and my youngest is 4. So we have the whole age range of all the aspects going on with all the different things that they're all into. And so now we feel like we have the energy to keep up with them and to give them a good start on their own someday.
That's incredible. I just love your story. It's so inspiring. I think that's so awesome. I relate to your story about just praying that God would give us something, and just having that feeling that God's giving us something big, because that's very similar to my story as well. Just, I was kind of in that same spot, just tired all the time, depressed all the time. And there was even one day, not everyone knows this story, but I'm going to share it just because you made me think of it when you said that, is when I was, one day I was just out in the garage, just having a meltdown, just really emotional. And my, at the time, 12-year-old son came out to the garage and said to me, Mom, you know what? It's okay. Like maybe God has something really big in store for you. And this is all part of the plan. You're going to be fine. And I was like, within a month, I started the little pink drink and had no idea how it was going to transform my life, but it has. And so I think you're right. Like sometimes God just knows where you're at and sees a blessing and puts it in your lap. And I think that's been the story for so many of us on our team as well, that Plexus is a blessing. So thank you for sharing about that. It's awesome. I guess one question I have for you is, and you describe yourself as a crunchy mama, and you were all about eating healthy and doing everything right. And we here in Arizona, there's a lot of people that are very health conscious, that work out, that, eat all the right things. And they say, well, I don't need that weight loss thing. And, we try to tell them it's so much more than just weight loss and, all the benefits and stuff. But how did you go about, because I know a lot of your team is just like you, very health conscious, crunchy mamas. So we would love to hear tips on how you talk to people about that.
Well, I think, okay, so you have to understand, to begin with, I really only knew about the pink drink. And my first month, I had 10 customers just on Slim alone, because I'm like, like I explained to you guys earlier, I saw this as something that's not out there, really. There's nothing else. I said, you guys need to understand, go Google the importance of insulin. Google your issue that you're dealing with now with blood sugar or with insulin resistance, and see how connected it is. And you'll know you need to be on this stuff. And so I had like 10 customers. My check was over $500 just on that knowledge alone. And then I finally got unsnobby enough about our Probiotic 5 to try it. I figured that's way too cheap for a probiotic. It didn't have to be refrigerated. All these things is like, how could it even work? But I had it sitting there because it came in my welcome pack. So I eventually tried it. And then I'm like, okay, all you guys that are into probiotics, you haven't tried a probiotic until you've tried this one. Because I've used them for years. I use expensive ones, and I never could say I could tell I was taking it. Like I was actually getting results from it. This was night and day difference. For the first time ever, I had my digestive problems clear up, and I had dealt with constipation and yeast issues most of my life.
Wow.
So, we're talking to people who understand these things. They know that we need gut health addressed. And they should know we need blood sugar addressed, because that's really kind of the cutting edge of a lot of natural education now with health. So I think when you just say these are basic needs, and I challenge you to find anything else out there that's even going to compare to what these do, try it for 60 days. You have nothing to lose. I still have a few. Some of my absolute crunchiest of friends refuse to touch it because it's MLM, because it's, whatever, for whatever reason. They don't like one specific ingredient or something like that. But educate people with a passion, and they have nothing to lose in trying it. So that's kind of where I came from.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's really true. And then too, I know that you are a Christian, that you have a lot of people on your team that love the Lord and stuff. And we do too. Our team has a lot of really great people on it. How do you reach out to those? Like I have some on my team who are pastors' wives, and they're like, oh, I don't know if I can really share it, because I'm a pastor's wife, and I don't know if I should be on Facebook and stuff like that. What is have you dealt with that at all with your team, or?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm familiar with that. And here's what I always tell people. I don't like to compare it to the gospel in terms of on the same level, But I think we can compare the way it works on a physical level. The need of people to get this product is huge. And when mamas can feel better, they can be better for their families. It hugely affects a child's upbringing if they're going to have a grouchy mama or a happy mama, right? I mean, that's a no-brainer. I look at Plexus so much as a ministry because we are helping so many people live better, stronger, more quality lives. They can be more effective in whatever they are doing as believers. And so we're truly in a day and age where everyone is either on medication or debilitated in some way with, not feeling tops. And this can help people become that stronger person to be more effective for God's kingdom. And so how can you be quiet? Why would you be quiet about helping someone spiritually? Well, then we shouldn't be quiet if we have something that can help people physically, because you know how tight in that is. You know how many people we've helped get away from suicidal thoughts and depression and stuff with these products. And then they can go live abundant lives. My second thing is when it comes to actually making money, I strongly feel if you're a giver, if you're a believer, if you want nothing other than to help your family live above debt and struggle, and if you want nothing more than to give to God's work, then you're the one that should be making money. There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, you should be embracing the opportunity. And, you're the one that should be doing it. The other little thing I run into with some people is they think network marketing is somehow bad because it's all about money and it's going to affect friendships and all that. And I'm like, well, if that's what you think it is, that's what you get into. But let's focus on how it is. It only way it's going to affect friendships and affect people's make them into greedy people is if that's where their heart was wrong in the first place. Mm-hmm. But if your heart is to serve God and to serve people, you can't go wrong in this business.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's amazing too, just, being in this business in Plexus, I've made so many more amazing friendships, and I've grown personally as a person and grown spiritually too. And it's stretched my faith, and I've met the most amazing Christian women and some that aren't Christian women, but just amazing friendships too. So, and I still have my friends that aren't supporting me, and we can all say that, like, they're supporting us in different ways. Maybe they're not on board with Plexus yet. But you're right. I mean, I think it's done nothing but add our friendships, add to our lives.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Well, okay, team, do you guys have questions for Brenda as well? Does anybody have anything?
I do. Hi, Brenda. I'm Suzanne, and I wanted to find out if once you started building your team, if you kind of put together something to help you go faster, like to duplicate. My main thing is I was focusing on my new ambassadors and trying to give them all the information they could need, in that first 10 days, week, even month. Is there something like that you have, and what would be those items that you would want them to have right away?
Well, I think a personal connection is huge with them. Honestly, most of my team is out of state, all over the U.S. I don't have very few local. So I'd always get on a phone call with every single person that joined, whether they said it was just for wholesale or they wanted to work the business. I was on the phone with them, just to make sure they were comfortable with the back office. And I would talk about when they get a customer, when they're going to earn a paycheck. And I would give them a little vision of what this could be if they want to go above and beyond getting their product paid for, because Plexus is different. So just taking the opportunity to get them to just know your heart and why you want this for them. And then, of course, I had a short list of just sort of the basics, that you would talk to them about depending where their goal was. If it was to get their products paid for, okay, 3 to 4 customers. You can probably do that. Talk to about this many people. Make your list, okay? So you keep it simple. If they were someone who really wanted to run with the whole business, then you would plug them into everything you could without overwhelming them, but, in a nice building on steps. But, I think connecting your people to other people on your team, kind of a key that we sometimes miss. like putting some newbies in a group chat and talk about maybe their first launch or their, going silver, getting them connected sideline. And then, of course, in your own team group, posting things that keep them interacting so they feel that connection, that belonging, and that family feel. I don't know, does that answer your question?
Sort of, kind of. I was thinking of like information wise, like, okay, so I put it together a little welcome email. Also thinking that, follow up with a phone call and do like a training within, I would say now I would do it within the first week, but just to do the same thing to kind of let them know, who's around them. But I was also thinking like, what are I know it's in our new success kit that it says, the quick start, but I'm thinking more like specific, like okay, the how to start the pink drink, and then how you would explain, those first few steps that, I mean, you're new and you're sharing, and then all of a sudden you have a new ambassador and you're kind of sitting there going, what do I need to do? And you're trying to find all those little things. Are there those certain things that you give them so it's kind of quicker in those like that first week?
Yeah, I probably have somewhere a document or something in my team group with like 3 basic things that you want to, as soon as an ambassador gets a customer, make sure that they send them an email, make sure that they add them to our customer group, and make sure that they have a follow-up plan to where they're going to check in with them every 3 to 5 days or a couple of weeks or whatever we determine. Then the same with if they get an ambassador, make sure that they have 3 to 5 things that they're going to do every single time a new person comes in, like a checklist. And then that is something that they can hand to their new people. Is that kind of what you have in mind? So it's duplicatable. Yeah. I have that somewhere. I just would have to go look it up to tell you specifically what each step is. And if you want to message me and remind me, I can try to do that.
That would be great, Brenda. I appreciate that. I know one of the good points I think you made is I like the group chat idea with the newbies. I think that's a good thing that we could incorporate. And then the phone calls. I was going to ask you, so do you call like all of your levels, or do you just call your level ones and talk with them? Like, or do you call every ambassador on your team at some point when they first join? Or, okay.
I don't have the time at all to begin with. No, I do my own personally sponsored, but I will do 3 ways for my other levels. With my level ones.
Okay, all right. Because we've just started really incorporating the 3 ways with the level ones, and I really love that. I think that's made a big difference. But I was just making sure you weren't calling every single person on your team, because I thought, oh, maybe I should have been doing that. So, although I do talk to a lot of our team, but it's awesome. Anyone else have questions?
What is your customer Facebook group? Like, what do you guys do in that?
That is something we started way back at the beginning, and we use it just for people on our team to post their testimonies, and where we post informative articles like education about insulin resistance and why our products work, and digestion and detox, so that we can then tag our customers when they're dealing with, oh, this is why I'm detoxing, and then all the encouraging testimonies. So that's what customers are exposed to. And of course, we have it set up to where we approve posts, so we don't get a lot of, negativity or questions or scary stuff from new people. But yeah, it's really been a great group to plug in customers to.
It's a great idea. I'm glad you caught that, Amber. That one went right over my head.
Yeah, we should do that one for sure.
Great.
Brenda, I have a question. I'm Nancy. Hi. What's been your biggest challenge during your journey here on Plexus, and what was your breakthrough with that challenge?
My biggest challenge. probably time management. You guys know I'm busy, and like I told you, I had to focus so much the first year. I mean, I wanted to. It came easy. And by the way, I sat down with my family, and my husband and I told the children, this is what's going to happen. Mama's going to be working the Plexus business. And so they all knew when they maybe had to take on a few extra household chores that it just meant we were getting closer to a new house or debt, being out of debt. And so everybody was on board with that. But I think the biggest challenge was, I hear what other people are doing that are successful. And it's things like a lot of calls. It's things like a lot of Zoom calls, going and doing things, events. And I'm like, I can't do all that. I had to make it work, being at home as much as possible in the beginning. So I did spend a lot of hours messaging people. I try to keep my phone calls as short as I can, and just keeping priorities. I'm able to do that a whole lot more now than I did in the beginning, and we don't regret that things were unbalanced for a while. But I think I was able to overcome it just because I need to be, and we knew we would work out, taking one day at a time, keeping priorities, taking care of yourself, but don't be hard on yourself if you don't feel like you're doing everything perfect. Don't compare. Someone else who has a whole different lifestyle than you, and know that you're in the right place at the right time. And if you have the support of your family, you'll find a way and you'll plow through. I don't know if that's answering your question, but that was probably my biggest challenge.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I have another question then, if nobody's going to ask. What was the most challenging rank for you?
That's a good question.
Did you hear me?
I'm probably going to say yes, I did. I'm just really trying to remember. I had great momentum in the beginning. Because, like I told you, video on the product, and then they would eventually turn over to ambassador, and they were telling people, and it just really went pretty quickly in the beginning. I would probably say my biggest challenging rank to get to a sapphire, because it's a whole different story where your leadership skills have to develop and increase. You can't just go on just telling people. You have to start building up leaders, bringing up leaders, and helping people reach their goals, and balancing your own continued personal work with teaching and bringing up your leaders and helping them reach their goals. So to me, that was probably the most challenging, was just finding that shift and keeping the momentum going in between there.
Cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have another question. So several of us, I don't know, several of us have our husbands on our team, and your husband just went diamond, which is super exciting. Do you have any advice with that? Like, as far as, I don't know, I guess just when is it good to start trying to build his leg, or did you start building his leg from the beginning, or how did you go about that with your husband?
Okay, I didn't start building under him until I knew I had good, strong team going. I was honestly Ruby, almost between senior gold and Ruby, when I started. We started adding people under his account, and I didn't really even at the time wasn't aware of how important that was. I just chose to do it that way because I was so focused on getting my team going that it really just kind of didn't dawn on me until one day, hey, I could get his going now because mine seems to be moving well. I still would say, do not add your husband right when you turn gold, unless you have got to go fast and you're cruising right on past and you see senior gold in the near future and you have momentum. You do not want to have to start working and focusing on a second account, especially when it comes to contests, the convention contest coming up and that, until you have great momentum. So for most people, that's not until Ruby. And there's nothing wrong with waiting that long. I think some people think, oh, I'll get the more welcome pack bonuses or, you know, something like that by adding your husband. But that is piddly compared to the value of waiting until you have a great, strong team. So think of it as 2 good workers besides your husband. You have 3 people you can count on to keep growing and keep building on your team. Then you go out and you find his 2 or 3 good workers by working his account.
Thank you. That's great advice. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have a question? We'll ask one more and then we'll let Brenda get on with her day.
Yeah, because they're designing some of the house without me, and I'm like, you guys, can I trust you to do this without me?
Oh my gosh.
It's fine. It's fine. It's the boys' basement. Yeah. The boys' lower level area, so it is kind of their baby, and so it's fine.
That's so awesome. I love the roof line of that barn. It's just so awesome.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anybody else? Last call for one more question. Okay. Well, again, thank you so much, Brenda. We just really appreciate you being on, and we've learned a lot from you, and we're inspired by you. And thank you again for taking your time this morning with us.
You're welcome. I'm excited for all of you guys.
Thank you.
Thank